It was on a particularly brisk November day that Henry first encountered Duke, the dog. A medium-sized mutt with a coat that gleamed in shades of deep chestnut and soft gold. Had been wandering near the edge of town, looking lost amidst the swirling leaves. As Henry strolled down the tree-lined avenue, his thoughts drifting between the memories of a long-forgotten youth, and the gentle reminders of the present, he noticed Duke sitting alone by the curb. His amber eyes filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Henry's heart, always tender and compassionate, immediately softened. He approached the dog slowly, extending a trembling hand in greeting. "Hey there, little fella," he murmured, his voice as warm as the faint glow of the morning sun. Duke, ever cautious yet instinctively drawn to the kindness in Henry's eyes, edged closer. In that moment, as their eyes met, an unspoken promise passed between them, a silent vow of companionship and understanding that would soon grow into something beautiful. Henry, who had long resigned himself to a life of solitude after the loss of his beloved wife many years ago, felt a spark of hope rekindling within him. Without hesitation, he knelt down and offered Duke a scrap of his sandwich. The dog sniffed curiously, then gently took the food, his tail wagging ever so slightly. That small act of kindness was the beginning of a bond that would come to redefine both their lives. Over the following days, Duke became a frequent visitor at Henry's modest, weathered home, a charming cottage on the edge of town, bordered by a sprawling garden that whispered secrets of summers past. Each morning, as Henry sipped his coffee by the window, he would see Duke waiting outside, eager and patient. Their interactions were simple, gentle pats, soft-spoken words, and long, leisurely walks down winding country roads. Yet, these moments were imbued with a magic that only true companionship can bestow. As the seasons changed from the crisp chill of fall to the biting cold of winter, Henry and Duke grew inseparable. The little cottage, once filled with echoes of silence and solitude, now resonated with the sound of Duke's playful barks and the steady cadence of Henry's footsteps as he strolled alongside his loyal friend. The townspeople soon took notice of the pair, a retired gentleman with a gentle smile and a dog whose eyes shone with the kind of loyalty that warmed even the coldest winter days. Henry's neighbors, who had long admired his resilience, now saw in him a renewed spirit. They often remarked how the presence of Duke seemed to lift the veil of loneliness that had, for years, shrouded the old man's life. In local cafes and on park benches, conversations began to revolve around the duo. Stories of their adventures, however small or seemingly trivial, spread through Maplewood like a cherished legend. One wintry afternoon, as a soft snowfall blanketed the town, Henry and Duke embarked on one of their customary walks. The world was transformed into a silvery wonderland. Henry, wrapped in a thick woolen scarf and coat, clutched a cane for support, while Duke trotted beside him, occasionally stopping to catch a snowflake on his nose. The sight was heartwarming, a portrait of companionship against the stark beauty of winter. During their walk, they encountered a young mother struggling with a pram and a pile of groceries. Duke, sensing the woman's distress, approached her with an almost human empathy, nuzzling her hand in a comforting gesture. Henry, with a gentle smile, helped steady the pram, and for a brief moment, the burdens of the day seemed to melt away. That simple act of kindness, sparked by Duke's gentle nature, rippled through the community, reinforcing the idea that even the smallest gestures of loyalty and compassion can bring light to dark days. Back at home, the evenings were filled with quiet rituals. Henry would read aloud from a worn collection of poetry, his voice soft and measured, while Duke rested his head on Henry's lap, eyes closed in contentment. These moments, seemingly ordinary to an outsider, were profound expressions of trust and companionship, a mutual understanding that transcended words. It was during one such evening that Henry, looking at Duke as the dog snoozed peacefully, whispered, "You know, Duke, sometimes I feel like you're the one who's keeping me young." Duke's ears twitched, as if acknowledging the sentiment. In that simple exchange lay a deep, unspoken acknowledgement that love and loyalty could heal wounds left by time, and that the heart's capacity for friendship was boundless. As the years passed, the relentless march of time began to cast its long shadow upon Henry. Once vigorous and active, his steps grew slower and his breaths shallower. The vibrant spark in his eyes began to yield to a quieter, more reflective glow, a testament to a life well lived but slowly succumbing to the inevitable decline of old age. Despite his weakening body, Henry's spirit remained indomitable, buoyed by the presence of Duke. The dog, too, grew older, his muzzle streaked with silver, his movements more measured. Yet, their bond, forged in the crucible of shared memories and mutual care, only deepened with the passing of each day. It was during one particularly harsh winter that Henry's health took a turn for the worse. The biting cold seemed to seep into his bones, and a persistent cough began to trouble him. On a night when the wind howled outside and the snow fell in relentless drifts, Henry found himself struggling to catch his breath. Duke, sensing his friend's distress, remained by his side, his eyes wide with worry and concern. That night, as Henry lay in bed, shivering beneath layers of blankets, Duke refused to leave his side. The dog lay curled at the foot of the bed, his gentle warmth offering a small measure of comfort amid the overwhelming chill. Henry, though weakened, managed a faint smile as he reached out to stroke Duke's soft fur. "You're here, aren't you, boy?" he murmured. "You're the only reason I'm still fighting." The following morning, the town's kindly doctor visited the cottage. Dr. Evelyn Moore, a woman with both a scientific mind and a compassionate heart, had long known Henry and his loyal friend. She examined Henry with a careful precision, and adjusted his medication. But she couldn't help noticing the unspoken bond between man and dog. "Henry," she said softly, "you must rest. Your body is telling you it's time to slow down. And Duke, well, Duke seems to know this too. He's been your guardian angel through all these years." Henry's eyes, filled with both gratitude and melancholy, met Duke's. In that look, there was an acknowledgement of a shared history that stretched far beyond the confines of their small world. Over the next few weeks, as Henry battled the relentless advance of age and illness, Duke became more than just a companion. He was a silent sentinel, a source of unwavering strength and comfort. Every morning, Duke would nudge Henry awake with a gentle lick, as if to remind him that another day was a gift to be cherished. In the evenings, when Henry struggled with pain and fatigue, Duke would rest his head on his friend's lap, offering a solace that words could never convey. The town watched over them with a mixture of sorrow and hope, aware that their beloved pair was waging a quiet battle against time. During this period, Henry began to record his memories in a battered journal. He wrote about the days of his youth, the adventures he had embarked upon, and the lessons learned from a lifetime of joys and sorrows. But most of all, he wrote about Duke, the dog who had, in so many ways, become the keeper of his heart. His words were tender and filled with the wisdom of someone who understood that every moment, no matter how fleeting, was precious. Spring arrived with a gentle promise of renewal. The harsh winter receded, replaced by the tender blossoms of new beginnings. Yet, amidst the blooming flowers and the chirping of returning birds, the reality of Henry's fragile state became increasingly apparent. His doctor's visits grew more frequent, and each appointment carried with it the weight of inevitable farewell. One warm, May afternoon, as the world around him burst into a riot of colors, Henry felt a deep weariness that went beyond the aches of old age. Sitting in his favorite rocking chair on the porch, he gazed at Duke, who lay peacefully at his feet. In that quiet moment, Henry knew that his time in this world was drawing to a close. His thoughts turned to the legacy he wished to leave behind, a legacy not of wealth or fame, but of love, compassion, and the simple, enduring power of loyalty. Henry called his daughter, Maria, who lived in a bustling city miles away, and arranged to meet for one last visit. With Duke accompanying him, Henry traveled to the little house he had once called home, carrying with him the wisdom of a life well lived. Maria, upon seeing her father and Duke together, was overcome with a bittersweet emotion. The bond between her father and the faithful dog was palpable, a living testament to the kind of love that can defy the ravages of time. Over the next few days, Henry and Maria spent long hours reminiscing. They looked through old photo albums, sharing laughter and tears as they recalled the moments that had defined their family's history. Duke, ever attentive, sat by Henry's side throughout, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that belied his canine nature. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon in a blaze of crimson and gold, Henry spoke softly to Maria. "My dear, life is but a series of moments, fleeting, yet profound. Remember this, love never dies. It lingers in every kind gesture, every shared smile, and every loyal heart. Duke here, he's not just a pet. He's been my friend, my guardian, and my link to all the beauty this world has to offer. When I'm gone, let his memory remind you to live with kindness and courage." Maria, tears glistening in her eyes, nodded in silent agreement. In that tender exchange, the legacy of Henry's life took shape, a legacy that would continue to inspire long after his voice had faded away. The days grew quieter, and it was clear to everyone that Henry's battle with time was nearing its end. One gentle morning, as the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, Henry passed away peacefully in his sleep, Duke still lying at his side as if guarding him in his final journey. The loss sent ripples of sorrow throughout Maplewood, and the town gathered to bid farewell to a man who had touched countless lives with his quiet wisdom and boundless love.